Damn, yeah. Our listeners are the most dedicated group of fans that we could ask for.
Yeah,
We should have one of those like American Idol phone banks.
Yes.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back. It's the Hip Dad Radio Record Club. You know, we're all here. Doug, Reid, Matt, Mason, James, and George. George is joining us in now. Welcome, George.
Thank you.
George is he's a big music guy, so he's perfect for this. But yeah, we're back. You guys know the formula. We're doing new albums this month. We all chose a album that we've been really digging, and we all listened to it, and now we're gonna talk about it one by one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like the video, leave a comment, tell us what your favorite album was, and you can even vote on which album out of all these that you like the most. The link is in the description of the video. But yeah, that's about it. Let's get started. I think Luke won last time, right?
You sure did.
So, and Luke's not here, so I don't know how this works now. Does anyone want to go first, or?
Who got the second most amount of votes last time?
Wasn't it like a tie or something?
Here, I'm gonna do a random number generator. You ready?
Yes. Reid with the
right.
technology.
On my screen, so the viewer's screen, top left is 1, and at the bottom, Matt Kennett is 7. So let's see what happens here. 2, that would be me.
Oh, how convenient.
How convenient.
Yeah, sure.
How convenient. I actually didn't really want to go first, but that's all right. I'm going to pull up my album list here. So this week, or this month, I suppose, I picked at first the new Peach Pit album, but like the next day, the new Denzel album dropped. And as Doug and Luke, unfortunately, who is not here, knows, I've been eagerly anticipating this album for a long time, ever since the first single dropped 2 months ago. And the singles dropped. The order was Walking, Zentaichi, and then Troubles. And it's weird because I think all 3 of those songs are great, but they don't match stylistically. And that was more to come. I would say the album doesn't match stylistically because there's 14 songs and 10 different producers. So I was really, the first time I listened to this album, kind of thrown off. I'm like, this sounds more like a mixtape or an EP than an album to me. And then the more and more I listened to it, like the more and more I understood it and I got it. And I still think that the stylistic differences between songs are odd, but the common theme of the album prevails. And I think all of the production is great. Like you can really tell when he works with Kenny Beats. And there were some songs I didn't like the first couple of times I listened to him. Like X-Wing is a big one. The first time I heard X-Wing, I hated that song. I'm like, this song is the worst Denzel Curry song I've ever heard. And now that I've listened to it like 20 times, I'm like, all right, I really like this. Ain't No Way is another song that really got to me. Really awesome feature from Rico Nasty on that song. Really good verse. And I think there's a lot of other really good features on this album. Obviously, the T-Pain feature is huge, and it's like old school T-Pain, like mid 2000s kind of T-Pain. 454, Slow Tie, Rico Nasty, Jid, like the whole album still slaps, even though it's still, he definitely took a step back from like the hardcore in your face music production and lyrics, but I think it still landed really well with me. I really liked it a lot.
I just want to say one thing before we start reacting to that, which is it's pretty easy to tell when he's working with Kenny Beats. Whoa, Kenny!
Okay, fair point. But there's a song that Kenny Beats is on that he helps produce that it doesn't go Whoa Kenny.
Oh, is there really? I'm totally missed
Yeah,
it.
I'm pretty sure it's either Angels or Ain't No Way.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I love this album. What I didn't expect it to drop, and when it did, I was so excited for it. And I went in with the expectation of like, oh, we're gonna get some hardcore bangers, it's like some unlocked shit. And we didn't. We got a lot of like really kind of introspective, really interesting production, sort of definitely not softer isn't the right word for it, but I really enjoyed the direction that he took it. The songs that stood out to me were John Wayne is like very short but very memorable. Yeah. I really liked the kind of reflection he had on his voice on that song. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. I think this is like the first, I guess the first hip hop album that probably I was really looking forward to this year. I don't know if there's anything else that's come out yet, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Much like Reid said, I know we were talking about this yesterday, but I think it feels like a mixtape, and I know that he's been working on this album for years. And it's not that it doesn't sound great, it's just that the songs beats wise don't really fit with each other, but lyrically it's all there. It's like a really personal album. There's a lot of really personal shit in this album. I don't know if you guys have really read the lyrics or like had a chance to like listen to the songs with the lyrics, but definitely a cool way to kind of experience the album. Yeah, a few songs that I really liked. Walkin'. I did like X-Wing the first time that I listened to it. Troubles, Mental, and yeah, that's all. But of course the other songs are great too. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more though. I hope, as much as I appreciated like a more tamed Denzel Curry, because things are coming at you less faster than like an Unlocked. I would like something else like that in the future. Like I still like his really hard shit. I know that he's not at that place in his life, and you can definitely tell that in his lyrics that he's like, this guy's gone through a lot of therapy recently. And he's just like airing out all of the shit that he talked about in his therapy, like in his music. And I think that's like super powerful. So that made me just like the album even more.
Well, I'm going to come at it from a completely unintelligent music standpoint. I listened to this working background, but it was great. It was fantastic. I kind of first thing that really hit me is, yeah, with normal Denzel, you get kind of punched in the face by him yelling and it really just kind of thrash at his thing. Yeah, exactly, James. And this was noticeably calmer and smoother and chiller, but it was still great, man. And songs for me, Angels, Sanjuro, and The Ills were kind of my top ones. And of unintelligent listening, I mean, background music, I just like when something perks my ear up, I just hit save and then I'll come back to it later. And those are the ones that I saved. So definitely going to get a re-listen.
Yeah, I haven't listened to a ton of Denzel. I know a lot of his bigger songs, kind of the sound. So this sound was like totally kind of threw me off here. It was like totally different. Agree with what Reid and Doug were saying and James about, there's a lot of different sounds and it does kind of sound all over the place, but like the common theme of him growing up and just this personal like reflection was really cool. And I definitely want to listen to it again, reading the lyrics. It's a great idea, Doug. Thank you. But yeah, it felt really personal. It felt a little more mature. It felt like he's kind of growing up a little bit and expressing his feelings. I really liked The Smell of Death. I thought that was a cool song. Had a good beat to it. But yeah, I like this album a lot. A good effort from Denzel.
I don't really know much of Denzel's work, but this album I really enjoyed. So maybe that skews my perception of it a little bit, but I really liked how jazz influenced it was. And I don't know how his normal music is, but it felt like he just had a great rhythm to a lot of his songs and the production was great. There's a lot of variety, obviously, as you were talking about Reid with T-Pain showing up, and I loved his throwback style on that one.
And Lil Wayne too.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like almost To Pimp a Butterfly and even earlier in the early 2000s just came together in this album, which was just a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah, I thought it was really smooth. I mean, I listened to it once all the way through with Reid the other night. I did not know what to expect, but I really pleasantly was surprised how much I liked it. I didn't think that it would be something I'd like, but I was, yeah, really, really surprised. It is a really deep kind of album lyrically. I mean, I feel like I'd have to listen to it more to really get the themes and everything. So that'd be cool to do. But yeah, I think the playing on it's good. It's you know, the keyboards on it are great. I don't know who's playing that, and like the drum sounds are awesome. Yeah, it was just a good, solid record. Not much to say.
I think one thing, like a big thing that I missed is like there was a start to finish story of the album, and it's very much like reflective of his time like over the last like 3 years on this earth for him. Like the first song, like even though there's an intro, the first song, Walking, is just about the suffering of Black people in America, and then eventually you make it all the way to the end to Zentaichi, which is about Zentaichi is the name of a fictional samurai who's blind. Like he doesn't know where he's going, but he still leads the masses. And like everything in between is him realizing, like through watching cancel culture and like all of the big movements that have been coming through recently, like realizing that like everything he's done before in his life was just like totally selfish and devoid of thought for anybody else. And he doesn't really know. I think at the end is him admitting like he doesn't really know what he can do to help or to take the next step, but he's ready to take it.
That's really cool. I hadn't picked up on that, Reid.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of that kind of like sort of progression of an album. Because yeah, midway through the album, he's talking all about how, you know, people are, you know, globbing onto him just for like the fame, right? You're kind of classic like hangers on. He's talking about like, growing emotionally and, you know, how he pushes away his friends and all that, and then to then take it to a place of, yeah, I don't know where I'm going, but like I'm gonna figure it out. That's really cool. I hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah, really cool like evolution of the story. And I think that also comes from the fact that he wrote it over the course of 3 years. Like there's a lot of thought and development that you have as a human being over that period of time.
Totally.
So I'll wrap it up with a number. And I'm going to give it a nice round 9 out of 10. I loved this album, and I still listen to it almost every single day since it's come out, and every time I listen to it, it gets better. So 9 for me.
Strong start.
Mm-hmm.
Did it. Done it.
Next number generator, 6. So that would be James.
Heyo. I think we should choose who goes next with random number generators all the time.
We're all on the edge of our seats here.
Yeah, so the album I picked was St. Paul and the Broken Bones, 3000 AD Mass. This album kind of came out of left field for me. I was a big fan of St. Paul and the Broken Bones in college. Half the City and Midnight Gospel, I think is what it's called. Their first couple albums I really, really loved. And then they came out with the album Apollo, and that just didn't do it for me. And so when this album came out, I didn't expect a whole lot from it. Sorry, Young Sick Camilla. Camilla is their third album, but this album, The Alien Coast, came out of left field for me. And when I listened to it, I was totally hooked. For your guys' perspective, these guys are very much a Southern funk, Southern rock band. You know, their first couple albums are chock full of organ and brass and strings. You know, and when I saw them live in Raleigh, North Carolina back in maybe like 2015 or 16, you know, they had like a 7-piece band with trumpets and trombones and a cello, I think, and they rocked it. Fantastic. So I really enjoyed this album. Reid, to your point of like you've had it on repeat since it's been released. I've had this album on repeat for a long, long time. Really surprised me in a really nice way. A couple of notes on the album. There's a lot of sort of use of distortion. There's a lot of use of kind of piercing guitar, so like riffs. But none of it's new, like in terms of music in general. But I think that the way they bring all the elements together on this album is really like sonically interesting. And then you've got the lead singer whose voice is just absolutely incredible. And if you see this guy in person or in picture, he does not look like how you think he sounds. He looks like, a guy who's been, drinking a lot of beer and like works in IT, but I think that he's got a fantastic voice, and he's a great live performer as well. One sort of standout moment from when I saw him live was he got on top of the speaker column and was just kind of rolling around while singing on the top of the speaker column. And then like at the end of the song, had a little trouble getting down. But he was so into it that he was just ready to make it happen for the show, which I thought was really good. So let's see. The standout song on this album for me, Minotaur was really fun. I really enjoyed that song. I like the riff. The intro, 3000 AD Mass, Fire and Brimstone. I thought it had a really sort of fun, like over the top kind of sound, really bring you into the album and really grab your attention. But I think far and away my favorite song, which is kind of atypical for me, was a slow song. The last track, Love Letter from a Red Roof Inn. That one stood out to me for a number of reasons, but I just thought that the presentation of that song as writing from the road on tour, trying to figure out how to have love in this kind of environment where you're in an environment where you're alone with your thoughts, you're alone with kind of your feelings, and there's no one there to really support you, was a really interesting way to close out the album. And I really enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I don't think I've ever shared anything quite like this before.
Yeah, I'll start it off here. I'm a pretty big fan of St. Paul and the Broken Bones too. I remember saying on a previous Hip Dead broadcast that they're like the ultimate wedding band. Like if you're gonna pick one band to play a wedding and get everyone on the floor, get the kids on the floor, get grandma on the dance floor, St. Paul and the Broken Bones is your choice there. Just a really great classic soul sound, Southern Stax era. So this album really surprised me. It really came out of left field because it's just so psychedelic and just so different than everything they've done. That I think that kind of music can get pretty formulaic, and they definitely broke that formula with this album. So it was really cool. Definitely an album I feel that requires multiple listens to kind of just get your head around what's happening, and because of that psychedelicness. But once you do, it's awesome. I really liked the song Atlas. I thought that was pretty cool. That was it was almost like a loop track kind of song, which was totally different from them. And I agree with James. I love Love Letter from a Red Roof Inn. Just the writing is just awesome. So a really cool album, just a cool departure from their usual sound that I think is welcome. Would I listen to it over their other stuff? Because I still feel like I would want to go to St. Paul and the Broken Bones for that soul sound. So I don't know how much I'm going to listen to this down the road, just kind of when it all is said and done. But I really liked this album just in general, and I really liked the fact that they were able to break away from their signature sound.
I want to say something. I also am a big fan of St. Paul.
What? No way.
Crazy. I listened to them in college. I knew their first album. Forget the name of it. But yeah, like you said, that was a pretty straightforward, just kind of soul album, soul band. Just they had a lot of good party songs. Yeah, and then I kind of just stopped listening to them until we listened to this album. Yeah, I just thought it was just gonna be the same thing going into it, but it was cool to see that it was a different kind of sound. It was very psychedelic, but it still had the same. You could tell it was the same band, and they were still doing soul music. But the thing is, it kind of reminds me of like in the late 60s, like when a lot of soul bands kind of had to try to adapt to the psychedelic, you know, the scene going on. So it kind of reminds me of kind of albums like that, where it's like they're still soul, but they're trying to like do something crazy, you know. And but no, I think they pulled it off pretty well. I was happy to see it was different and they tried something. So it's definitely a fun listen for me.
100%. I got that soul element that you were talking about, Matt. Funk, blues, rock. 3000 AD Mass was absolutely my favorite track. I mean, they started off so strong and it just absolutely slid downhill from there. No, really, it was sweet, man. I'd never heard something in that classification before. I've never heard of these guys before. It was a totally unique experience for me, and it's just taking all these elements of all the genres and classics that I really love and turning it into something crazy with so much just tension and the distortion they have going on with just sweet release. I mean, I really enjoyed it quite a bit. So thanks for turning me on to them. This is getting a third, fourth, fifth listen for me.
Yeah, I agree with Mason there. It feels like beyond just how many genres are going on in the whole album, it feels like at any given moment, every single instrument and the singer are on completely different genres, and it just somehow works all together. I mean, the singer is singing in a soul style, but then, you know, the keyboard is in a psychedelic style. The guitar is a wailing guitar that's kind of a rocking guitar. It's really interesting. I'm not as familiar with them either, but this album was fantastic. I really liked it from start to finish.
Yes. Here.
Go ahead, Doug, sorry.
No, you're fine. Same. I'm not familiar with these guys, but I really like this guy's voice a lot. And yeah, 30,000 AD Mass, like that song is crazy. What a crazy opening for a song. I really like that one. But yeah, I would love to like listen to their other stuff and kind of get like a vibe of what their other albums sound like, if this is like such an offshoot of something that they normally do. But hopefully this is like an opening for them to kind of like keep on doing stuff like this. I don't know how you three feel about that, with being fans of this band and me not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great.
So when I listen to these albums, I just write the album names down and then I listen to them, and I don't know who picked them when I listen to them unless somebody told me. And I listened to this, and by the second song, I knew it was you, James. I find myself to be continuously engaged with this album. I think every song brought something unique, and like the sounds were always really like pleasing to my ear. I really enjoyed listening to it. I unfortunately didn't listen to the lyrics enough maybe as I should have. So I don't really have a lot to say there, but I did watch this on YouTube, and the playlist that they uploaded has like 4 live session songs at the end of it, or maybe 5. And for every song, the lead singer changes his outfit. And it's not like a shirt change. It's like a whole get up. And I really,
that tracks.
I understood the vibe, and I understand what you mean when you describe the lead singer, seeing him in person. So it was really enjoyable. This is a band I would love to go see live when they're in town.
Yeah,
I feel like this band definitely puts on a show.
if they've continued what they've been doing, they absolutely do. And Doug, just going back to what you were talking about in terms of like departures from their sound. Yeah, it far and away like very different from what they were trying to do. I think the album previous to this, they started to experiment a little bit with it, but they, in my opinion, didn't go far enough, and that's why the album fell flat for me. But their first couple albums are fantastic. I really recommend giving it a listen. Well, great. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed that album. This album for me was also like a strong 9, and based almost solely on the criteria of like how often I've listened to it. For me, if I can listen to an album, 10, 12 times and still be coming back for more, that to me is a sign of something really, really engaging and special for me. So yeah, I'm going to follow Reid's 9 up with a 9 as well. Yeah, St. Paul and Broken Bones, the Ilian Coast.
So my pick was a live Snarky Puppy album, live at GroundUP Music Festival. So this one was, they're live at a music festival, and it's actually a music festival they put on themselves. They run their own record label called GroundUP, and they just invite, you know, their artists onto this music festival. And it's a lot of artists that are kind of lesser known ones that fit into kind of different genres than what may be popular. It's a lot of gospel, it's a lot of African traditional music, it's a lot of Latin American music. And that just fits with the Snarky Puppy aesthetic of just trying to find good music wherever it is. And I just love Snarky Puppy. Whatever they put out, I think is fantastic. They're a huge band. They're about 20 members at any given time with a rotating door of various jazz musicians. This one I think had 19 in it when they recorded these songs. But they're all actually over different years at this music festival of just live recordings of songs they've already recorded before. So this one is really fun because they had the song Lingus on there. It's a great song on its own, but then they brought in this African band that's on their record label to do the African chanting sound you can hear in it. I think that's really interesting and different than what they normally do, which is just their instrumental straight jazz. And I think of all bands, they just encompass the best of what modern jazz is. There's a lot of jazz still going on, but it's not as popular, obviously, as what it was at its peak. But I think they just do it right in the best way. And yeah, this album, I mean, it's only 4 songs and they're all like 10 minutes long, which is kind of their style for everything. They have 20 musicians that all are fantastic, so they have to let them all play their role. But on this one, I especially loved Ready Wednesday. I think the piano on it is fantastic. You can tell he's clearly highly trained classically and with jazz, and it follows through for the whole thing. As I mentioned, the Lingus song is fantastic with the African band incorporated in it. And I think those two are really the standouts.
Well, George, you answered my question. I was going to ask how many people were in this live performance, how many they were tracking. It was 20?
Yeah, it's about 20. They're a huge band.
That's insane. So
can you imagine like just the recording infrastructure they need to do that?
No.
Yeah, and they record everything live. This may be in front of an audience, which is different from their studio recording, but their studio recordings are live. Wow. And they're just able to play that tight every single time without having to record everyone individually and put it together after.
Dude, this was really fantastic because when you sent me that when you sent that album and I was finally getting to listen to it, not gonna lie, cramming a little bit last minute, you know, it happens to everybody. I saw the length of the songs. I'm like, oh, good. It's just going to be, you know, some jam band, Fish, Grateful Dead, whatever, you know, just perfect to kind of coast in the background. But man, it took me on a roller coaster, dude. Like it starts off with just this, I don't know. It goes through so many peaks and valleys. And I'm getting like influences, like you get the saxophone, which reminds me of Bad, Bad, Not Good. You got some like jamming piano and guitar riffs like Grateful Dead, some electronic elements like STS-9 or Caribou. Like it just kind of goes all over the place. And I really liked that and appreciated that because it just kind of keeps you on your toes and it all sounds so good. So yeah, new experience for me, but thank you.
Yeah, similar to Mason too. Like I could totally feel the vibe of like the album changing over time. And I actually listened to this album while I worked out, and felt pretty pumped up. Like, and then at the slower moments, like, you know, it slows down. I was like doing like it was leg day, so towards the end of the workout, like I was kind of like I wasn't doing like a more intense workout, so it was perfect for my workout. But yeah, I really loved it. I like heard of Snarky Puppy. I'm really bummed that I haven't listened to them until now, but definitely gonna like give them another listen. And yeah, definitely loved the part where the African band comes in and they have like more lyrical stuff going on, and they get the crowd going. Yeah, I really like it. It's really good.
So
But
I have never heard of or listened to them ever before in my entire life, but the live performance reminds me a lot of another jazz band from the 80s, even though it's just one guy, Masayoshi Takanaka. If anybody has ever seen any of his live performances, it's like the same kind of vibe. He just brings all of his studio musicians on stage, like a ton of auxiliary percussion, and like everybody gets their chance to shine, and they play so tight. Like they're just so good. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about jazz music is like when people play jazz at a really high level, it's like especially impressive. So I really enjoy this album, and I will definitely be listening to more of them.
Yeah, I love Snarky Puppy. I haven't listened to nearly enough albums by them, and obviously I guess they're all recorded live, like you said, which makes me think a lot differently about them. Because I mean, I've seen some live performances on YouTube. I've even seen ones where like the audiences all have headphones. And they're all just, have you guys seen that? And they're all just sitting there watching the band. Everyone's really quiet. And it's just like this, like 12, 15 guys just playing like in front of them. It's crazy. And
those
I
videos
think
are
like,
awesome.
yeah, it's not just like, it's like jazz, but like they really, they elevate it in an interesting way. Like they have different like non-traditional kind of sounds. Like I don't even know how to describe some of them. I always like tell people like the one song, I forget what it's called, but George has the record. What's that record you have called?
Oh, the What About Me? We Like
Yeah.
It Here is the album name.
Yeah, I think it's called The Sleeper is the song. And
Yeah.
it's like, anyway, they do it. They have that sound on all their albums, but it reminds me of like the Toy Story soundtrack. If anyone is a big fan of the Toy Story soundtrack, I don't know what the instrument is, but it just sounds so cool. Maybe it's like keyboards, but it's like wah 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 wah.
Yeah, that sound. Yeah, I have no idea what
It's
that
awesome.
is.
Like it's so interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I love it. I want to see this. I want to go to the GroundUP festival. I was looking up who's played, and Michael McDonald and David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash have played there, and then a bunch of other probably really interesting off the wall people. But anyway, I loved it. Sick.
I want to be one of the people in the audience when we record that live, like that video. I want to have the big old headphones, and I want to just like be able to track, what musician's going crazy right now.
It's the only way to listen to Snarky Puppy is with headphones.
Honestly, though, like those videos are so damn impressive. Like not only like are they playing incredible jazz and incredibly tight as well, but they're also like doing it for an audience who's just getting the time of their lives. Like I don't know how you get into that room. I don't know how you get into a seat and get a pair of headphones, but I want some. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say on this album that hasn't been said already. But just like I have a huge appreciation for the kind of skill and the kind of presentation that Snarky Puppy brings to the table. I don't usually expect them to be sort of evolving their sound or changing their sound very often. But there are a couple of interesting elements on this album. I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool innovation for you guys. But yeah, I just really enjoy this album, and I have a deep appreciation for when you can get like 4 individuals, much less like 17 to 20 individuals who can all play so well together, who are all so talented, and who can do it on such a consistent level. That to me is just like mind blowing. So yeah, that's my take on Snarky Puppy.
I actually I saw Snarky Puppy play. They played at my college back in, I think it was 2013. So it was like almost 10 years ago that I saw these guys. And I listened to them a little bit back then, and then haven't come back to them really in like, 9-10 years. So listening to this album was really cool. Yeah, just, you guys said it best. Jazz is great, just amazing musicians. I really like Lingus. That was really cool. Just worldly sound. I looked up the band or the singer who is with them, and he's like African and Moroccan, which is very cool. The that first song, Wednesday, something Wednesday, what was it? Something Wednesday.
Ready Wednesday.
Yeah, the piano bass. That's a great song. Yeah, just really exciting to come back to them. I can't imagine how much the lineup has turned over since I've seen them before. They were like, I don't remember how many, but there could not have been more than 10 musicians there when I saw them. So I was a little shocked to hear that there were like 20 now. So now I got to go and watch all these YouTube videos. So yeah, just a really cool album. I'm gonna go back and listen to it. It's a little bit different than what I remembered. I remember them being a little more funky. So this album wasn't quite as funky as what I remember from my hazy memories, but yeah, super awesome. Excited. I'm excited to go back and listen to more of their stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that your college memories are hazy.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll wrap it up here with my score. I think actually this album, in terms of Snarky Puppy albums, it's sort of middle in the pack. I think Wish You Were Here is their best album. And they have so much good material that it's hard to say that this is up there for them, but it's still a great album. I think, as I said, Ready Wednesday is fantastic. Lingus is fantastic, but then Binky kind of drags on a little, in my opinion. So I would give it an 8 out of 10, I think, or 7.5 out of 10, considering there's 4 songs and I like 3 of them, to be more exact.
That's just math, baby.
All right, so my album I picked was Texas Moon by Khruangbin and Leon Bridges. It's a follow-up to their album that came out in 2020, I think. That was Texas Sun. This is the nighttime version, Texas Moon. Yeah, and they're two Houston-based Texas artists, so the collab is kind of natural. Khruangbin is like an all-instrumental band. They don't really have a singer. They have like, they sing like a little bit, but like it's not like a lyric based. They're much more melodic, more worldly. Whereas Leon Bridges obviously has a voice like smooth chocolate, so it came together really well. Yeah, and I really like this album. I think the good songs on this album are really, really good, and the other songs are just okay. So not in like a bad way, but I think like some of the songs are just like a little slow, a little not as interesting. But the good songs are like really good. And I kind of judge that. I'm a pretty big Khruangbin fan. I kind of judge that by like, could these songs stand up by themselves as like a Khruangbin song if you just remove the vocals? And kind of applying that like criteria to a lot of the songs, I found that like Doris and Father Father were kind of just a little more slow, nighttime, stonery kind of songs that don't really draw me in too much. Chocolate Hills was like, okay, that like could be an okay Khruangbin song. B-side is a really, really like funky song and really good. And then Mariella is like absolutely incredible. I fucking love that song. I want to die listening to that song. It is so good. So yeah, I think just overall, I just kind of want more Khruangbin. I want Leon to kind of not sing as much and Khruangbin to kind of do their thing. I feel like they kind of get lost behind Leon's voice a little bit, except for on Mariella, obviously, because Mariella is fucking amazing. But yeah, I really like this album. I've listened to it a lot. I probably will keep listening to it a lot. I don't know if they'll collaborate again. I think this was kind of a surprise to me when they announced that they were going to do this album again. So, I'm going to treasure it, but would love to hear some more stuff from the two of them. So we will see, but really curious to hear you guys' thoughts here.
I got a question. Do you know if it's if they came back together to record another EP, or is this an album? This is an EP.
It's an EP, yeah. So it's not technically an album. I think they did come back. I think
Yeah, or I was gonna say that, or did they like? Is this kind of like a B-sides thing?
that's a good question.
I'm curious. I have no idea.
They filmed like a video, so I'm assuming that they came back and recorded again, but I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah,
Nobody really knows. I think that's one of those
Pretty
impossible things that like you can't find out. That's just lost on the internet.
Who knows? Yeah. Nice to if only Khruangbin or Leon was here.
Those who go looking for answers get lost in Texas.
The bands don't even know. They're probably
Yeah.
hate you. But yeah, yeah, I loved it. I mean, when the Texas Sun first came out, it was such a big thing. I feel like everyone loved that thing, and I don't know. It's cool to see, you know, a voice to be added to the Khruangbin sound. And yeah, it's kind of interesting when you said that it does get a little lost in his voice a little bit. I think they're really trying to shine his voice because it's like half of the, you know, the appeal of the album, I guess. Kind of makes sense. But yeah, I guess I would like it to be a little bit more jammy. I didn't really think about that till you said that. But yeah, I think it's good. It just feels kind of like a part 2 to Texas Sun. I don't think it's changing too much of what they already did, but it was cool to hear. I loved it.
Yeah, I also I sort of agree with that. It did get a little lost at times and sort of meandering, I guess is the word. It was still like a very good vibe throughout, but I mean, I agree, Jet, that Mariella is a great track. I really liked that one. But yeah, overall it was a good sound. I felt like there could have been a little more energy to it, kind of like what Matt was talking about, but I liked it. And with that, guys, actually, I have to bounce. So sorry about that. Next time I'll make sure to reserve my entire night for this. I didn't give it the justice it deserved.
Bye, George. Good seeing you.
All
man.
right. So yeah,
George.
see you guys.
Oh, we just got owned, man. Oh, that's funny.
I had an interesting time listening to this album. I heard it before it was picked, and I heard it quite a bit. I personally agree with what everybody's saying. I definitely want more Khruangbin on this album. I wish it was a little bit longer. I think I prefer Texas Sun to Texas Moon, but if I'm in a certain state of mind, if you will, Texas Moon is the superior EP. It's if you're prepared to feel music in your body, this is a really good one to listen to. B-side and Mariella, like in particular, like just really hitting the right place. And I think that's where this album is like going to stay for me in the future, is like that's when I'm in an altered state of mind, like I would love to listen to this.
Yeah, off that, I was in an altered state of mind listening to this album, so it was very good. I actually listened to Mariella like 6 times in a row after I heard it for the first time. And it like, I feel like that song like has changed my life. Like it's really, really good.
It's really
And it is unfortunate that like I think and I don't know how you guys feel, but I also think Texas Sun suffered from the same thing, is that I think much like what we're talking about, how Khruangbin in their instrumentation, they want to kind of take a step back to give Leon Bridges like the stage to like just, you know, sing because he's great at it. I think it's great, and I think it works sometimes, but I don't think it hits. It doesn't hit the mark every single time, which is fine. But that being said, like I still enjoyed this album. I appreciate that they made it, and I like this B-sides version of an EP, which is kind of interesting. I mean, maybe they'll make like a Texas Rain, I don't know, like a Texas Hurricane, like, or Tornado. Like, why not keep on going on with this like this sort of weather or like mood sort of albums? I think is really cool.
Texas
And they don't need to be like perfect, I guess, as long as they have like one great jam where they both are like the synergy is there. I think it's great. I hope though, what I think that they should do is I think Khruangbin and Leon Bridges should record under a different name that's not Khruangbin, and they should make a full album, because I think we can accept if they're under a different name that it's not a Khruangbin album or it's not a Leon Bridges album. It's a, I don't know what they're going to call themselves, but like I think that would kind of change the dynamic of how the group works, because right now it's almost like they're competing against each other on this one album. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it was still great. I still liked it. Thanks for choosing it, Matt.
That's really interesting that you say that. That it sounds like they're competing, and I totally agree with you. Now that you said it, like that, working under a different name might give them a lot of latitude to try some different things sonically, which I think would be really interesting. Because yeah, I mean, going into this album, I had an expectation of what I was going to get, and like, yeah, I got it, right. It was Khruangbin and Leon Bridges, but I think that if they were able to sort of break out of the molds of what each artist is known for, I think that could be really, really interesting. Like I could imagine that Khruangbin could have a nice, interesting kind of rock sound to it if they really leaned into it. But that's just my uneducated take. But I thought that, yeah, I thought this album met expectations. Like I knew what I was getting, and I got it. Yeah, Mariella, obviously a standout track. But yeah, that's all about all I have to say about it.
I guess I'm going to be the one standout here, Chet. I love you, man. You're a great kid and a far better musician than I could ever hope to be, and but I nothing stuck out to me in this album, truthfully. I'll be the odd man out here, man. Like this one I actually listened to first a couple weeks ago when we first sent out the list. And you know, I wasn't sitting down intentively listening, and I'm not somebody who listens to lyrics. I've said that 1.5 million times, but you know, I listen for stuff that kind of stands out to me. And to me, maybe I got to go back and alter my state of mind like Doug is, but I need to, I feel like I might need to re-listen on this, because I don't know, it was good. It was smooth, easy listening, but nothing like really jumped out at me like, oh, wow, like I really like what they're doing here, you know. And I'm kind of loosely familiar with Leon Bridges. I don't know Khruangbin. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I mean, it was a cool vibe. I dig it, but you know, nothing jumped out at me. But good, easy listening. I'll say that for sure. So quick and dirty. And Matt, I'm holding out on to hope, man. One of these days, I know you're gonna send me a banger, and I'm just gonna kiss you on the forehead, man. It's gonna happen. I promise you.
I see what you're saying, Mason, and that's honestly that's kind of the way I feel about a lot of Leon Bridges' albums, like in general, other than his first one. I kind of feel like that's just kind of like you get wrapped up in his voice and put the blanket of his voice around you, but then it just kind of happens. It kind of blows by. So I totally like at that point of view. And listen to Mariella. Listen to Mariella again after you've done Doug's technique and Reid's. That's the Doug method. But like wait until like at night, like you know, turn the lights off, you know, turn on your light or whatever, your colored light, and you know, and vibe.
But I also feel the same way about Khruangbin though. Like, you know, in the sense of his albums just kind of happen, and like there are a few standout tracks that really kind of grab you. But as like a complete work, like the albums for me have just never really clicked. In a way that I would really that makes sense to me conceptually. Like I'm like oh yeah, it's like we're jamming, we're vibe, like we found the sound, and we get a lot of it for the album. So I think like I would really love to see them. I'm really all in on Doug's suggestion now, which is that they should go under a different name and try something totally whack. So I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I get that too. I think the band just in general, their sound is like really different, and like you do kind of need to give it a few listens, maybe alter your state of mind. It's supposed to be psychedelic and kind of.
It's a vibe. It's like a chill
vibe. Yeah.
Khruangbin's vibe is. It's like it's not like a big pop with a story or like a lyrically anything. It's just kind of like good.
It's more about like the melodies and the groove. I will say I went to their show like a month ago. Absolutely amazing. Oh my god, it was like one of the best shows I've ever been to.
Oh, nice. That's good to hear.
So would recommend. Yes. If you can see them at Red Rocks, James, definitely go see them.
They're a good They're a good festival band. You can just kind of like walk over and just like vibe out. You don't have to get a seat, get your popcorn kind of a thing.
Get your popcorn. Yeah,
But,
if I could see it at Red Rocks, Matt, I would definitely shout out for that.
They're awesome. It took me a while to get onto their sound too. I just kind of, altered my mind and then listened to them over and over again and just kind of got it one day, So I think overall I would give this maybe 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. I think, like I said, the good songs are really, really fucking good. The not as good songs I think are just okay. So that's all I got.
Hey, all right. What's up? I chose the new sports album, Get a Good Look. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's technically like a 2-part thing, right? So sports, Oklahoma band, they used to be a 3-piece, right? Now they're just 2 guys. One guy dropped out, so it's just 2 of these guys, hence the 2-face thing, on the cover. Yeah, I've been a fan of these guys for a while. Like I said, it's a kind of a 2-part album. This is their 4th album. And the last year they came out with Get a Good Look. I believe it was called Get a Good Look Part 1. And it's just literally the first part of this album until the intermission track 7. And it's the way they released it was so weird. Like I've seen bands do this before. They literally every single song they premiere it as a single. And then once they're done with, they just put out the album, which I think nowadays makes a lot of sense in a way. I don't think a lot of people listen to albums as much as like we do. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people just like listen to songs. And so it's interesting to see that. I've seen a lot of electronic artists do that too. But yeah, they just released every single track and then they came out with Part 1. And I was a big fan of Part 1. And then I guess they kept on putting out tracks individually. And then they just didn't make a Part 2. They just put it into 1, and now it's Get a Good Look. And I don't know. It didn't hype me up as much because I guess it didn't. I didn't really love it until I listened to the whole thing together, which is weird because I feel like all the songs do kind of stand out in their own way. They're all just kind of like their own kind of little songs. I don't feel like there's this big cohesive thing going on, but I don't know. Anyway, I love all the songs. It's definitely one of my favorite sports albums, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I love their first 2 albums. The 3rd album grew on me, but I think I like this one better than the 3rd album. But yeah, I think just each one of them are just super interesting pop songs, and like some of them are like really beautiful, like synth heavy ballads, like Baby Baby. It's an amazing song. And another good ballad is the Damn I'm Tired. Love that song. And then there's just some really good like party ones like The Look, Tell You Something. Yeah, not much to say. I'm just really pleasantly surprised how much I liked this one by them. So yeah. So,
this is where I'm hopping on the sports train actually, Matt. Because I've been a little familiar with sports here and there. Like I hadn't like really listened to given them like full album listens before. But even before you suggested this for this like meeting or for this month, a couple of friends of mine moved into town and they said like, "Hey, we're going to see sports on Friday. Like, you want to come?"
whoa.
And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go see sports."
You go?
Yeah, I did. They were great. I was like front row.
Sick.
They were fantastic.
We missed the show when they were in town. I was
They're
bummed.
so good live. I'm so bummed we missed it.
Man, that's
They
awesome.
were
Good
they
show.
were fantastic live. Yeah. So But in the week leading up to that, like I made, like they were playing on Friday or Saturday, and I committed to it on Sunday. In the week leading up to that, I like found out that they like just released a new album, and so like I listened to it front to back a few times, and really, really enjoyed myself. The tracks that stood out to me were the kind of more not I would grunge isn't the right word, but like the kind of more distorted kind of sound. Like those ones stood out to me. Like Call Me Anytime. I liked that one a lot. Even though it was very like very repetitive, I liked the sound. I liked the kind of moodiness to it. And then yeah, like like this album definitely got me on board in a way that none of their previous work had done. So thanks for picking it, man.
Yeah, not much to say here. Really enjoyed it. Really like sports. Much like Matt, I like this album better than the third one, at least from front to back, from beginning to end. I think the songs are a lot more consistent. One downer note, though, I'm kind of getting tired of the sports voice. I don't know how anyone else feels about that, but I think that they're not like experimenting enough with like the auto tune, like do something else with it than just the same tone. Like, but other than that, I think the instrumentation is still different enough from other sports albums to have progressed enough as a sound. But I would love to hear, I don't know, maybe they needed another third member to get a new singer, but that's just how I feel.
Wow,
That's going to be a problem because the singer only sings, so that might be controversial.
He plays other things. I've seen him do other things.
Doug, I could not disagree with you more. I think if you listen to all of the sports albums in a row, this one like really stands out. I think them not having the third guy on this one actually sets it apart the most from the other three. I think I understand what you mean lyrically. Lyrically, it's still kind of the same vibe, but I think everything else, the entire dynamic of the rest of the band has changed. So I can't second your opinion there. I love this album. There's no way it's not in my top 10 at the end of the year, and it will probably be much higher than that. I like every song feels so good, and it hits the way that sports should hit. Like every song is a love song. It's a synth pop love song, and I think they do it better than any other band out there that's trying to do it. Baby Baby is by far my favorite song on the album. Everybody Wants to Be a Frog, sneaky good. I think people kind of ignore that one because it's a weird name, but I really like that. And even the intermissions are good. Like from the like every sports album, especially People Can't Stop Chilling, like those intermissions were still really good.
Yeah, they're good at the intermissions. Yeah, true.
Like, don't sleep on those. Those are still really good and well put together songs. I absolutely love and adore this album.
Yeah, I'll second that, Reid. I really enjoyed this album. You know, I think it's just so awesome. It's so interesting because I feel like a lot of these songs like came out like a year ago. Like I feel like we were listening to Baby Baby like New Year's of 2021. You know, like so it's just cool, kind of cool to see it all come together here on the album. The album plays great. I think like it starts off as like there's just great love songs, party songs. I really like their beat. I haven't really listened to their other stuff, to be honest. I kind of started listening to sports when these singles came out. But yeah, definitely excited to go back and compare it to the other albums. We'll see who's right between Doug and Reid.
Yeah, I think we need more controversy on this program. So I'm glad we're getting into it.
No, I agree. I'm sorry I can't provide it this time, but you know, the thing I look for when I'm listening to a band I've never heard before is a nice, diverse mix of different styles, right? I have never heard of sports before, never listened to them, never heard a lick of music. And this album kind of had everything I was looking for. It had some dancey stuff, some indie rock, some jam, some like, you know, more low-key love songs. And James, what you said earlier about like the distortion on a couple of the songs, right? To me, I think that's one of the most creative things somebody can do, is turn such a horrifying sound or effect and make it just sit perfectly in this, in this mix of instruments and whatnot. And yeah, I just candidly really liked them, and probably going to check out more of their music at this point. So not much else to say, but I really liked that they had some dancey stuff. You guys know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I had a feeling Mason would like it. It seemed like something he'd like. But yeah, yeah, love the album. I'd probably give it like an 8. 8's kind of on the high side for me. It's really good, but I don't know if it's like the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. But 8, solid 8.
Before we move on, can I make a recommendation? I think next time we should all.
Yo,
Rough
it's
life.
me. Thank you. The album that I chose this month was the new Charli XCX album, Crash. I know that we don't bring a lot of pop music to these things, so I thought this would be a good chance to do that. And I've really been enjoying the last 2 Charli XCX albums, Charli and I'm feeling okay right now. I think that's what it's called. But I enjoyed this one. This was definitely kind of a return to form for Charli. It sounds a lot like the first several albums in her career. She definitely takes a step away from like the glitch pop that she's done in the last 2 records. So not as much a progression of the sound, but kind of like back to the core Charli fans out there. But for me, this is like my first album sound wise that I've heard from her that sounds like this. Definitely got like a lot of 80s vibes. I think like Dua Lipa and The Weeknd and like every other like major pop star right now is like really obsessed with the 80s and kind of capturing that sound, which I enjoy. I think that the more artists that do that, I think it's cool to have like a modern take on an old sound, because other artists tend to do that as well. When that happens, a few songs that stood out to me, Yuck, Good Ones, New Shapes, Beg for You, Baby, Constant Repeat. But yeah, I think this song was good. This album was good. I think there are some low points for it, and I don't think it's as strong as the other Charli XCX records. I think it's definitely something you can throw in at a party, but I don't think it's one of those albums that I think is just solid enough to kind of appreciate it as a package. So yeah, would love to hear what everyone thinks.
I'm going first. I got a bone to pick, Doug. I really enjoyed this album quite a bit, but that song "Beg for You" on there, if you guys all listen to that, I'm sure maybe it got a wheel turning or something. You're like, oh, that sounds really familiar. "Cry for You" by September, classic early 2000s pop song. It's been in my DJ rotation for the last couple weeks. I've been pulling it out just to like surprise people and give them an old throwback that people can be like, oh, I forgot about this song. And now it's ruined. It is gone. That opportunity is gone. I went on to the YouTube video of that original September song, and people are like this if you're here from Charli XCX. Oof. So I'm really pissed off about that, but the album was pretty good. I don't really listen to her outside. I've heard "Boom Clap" was the only song I've ever heard by her and them. And this, I don't know. I never thought I could actually get behind a full-fledged pop album, but I'll be honest, it was pretty solid. Other than ruining my DJ rotation, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, to that note, Mason, there are 2 samples on this song or on this album. "Cry for You," and then there's another one as well. They're like pretty big. pretty big dance tracks that she just ripped the instrumentals from those.
I mean,
So,
it was a
sorry
cool
to ruin
take
it.
on yeah, it was a cool take on it. Like she did a little break beat instead of the 4 on the floor, so like it was it was different enough and sounded good, but still like yeah, whatever. That's my own grievance.
I like your grievance, Mason. Hell yeah. Yeah, I wasn't super able to get behind this album in a big way. I enjoyed it, and like full disclosure, I kind of crammed for it. I sort of slotted into the middle of my day when I was doing other stuff, so I really couldn't do the solid listen to it, which that's on me. But on like repeated listens, like I just really couldn't find myself getting behind it in a way that like other pop albums, like Jessie Ware's album, like does it for me. Very much still capturing that 80s sounds, but I think it's just not quite. I'm not sure what it is about it. I liked a couple of the songs, like "Cry for You," Doug, that you called out. Love that song. Or sorry, "Beg." Was it "Beg for You"? Or hold on, I got this.
Respect for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yuck.
We
Yuck, actually.
ruined Mason's song.
It was actually the track "Yuck" towards the end of the album that I found like interesting and engaging. But yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I'm just not a huge pop listener, I guess, and I think that held the album back for me.
A tough time finishing this album. It started really strong. Like the first 3 or 4 songs, I was really engaged, and I was like, yes, like this is gonna be like another one of those pop albums that I can get behind. And then it kind of just like waned out from me. Like it just got washed away. But I think this album, along with the Weekend album that you had last time, really cemented a more positive thought on pop music for me. It's all about the singles. It's all about the hits. I have like given up on like looking for a good pop album. I love the hits though. I'll jam to those all day long, and there were definitely some hits on this album. So overall, enjoyed a lot of the songs, but not the entire album.
Reid, I disagree.
Oh, okay.
I think the end of this album was the best part of the album, and I think the hits were the weakest songs. Like, what's the song? Good Ones. I'm looking at the streams on Spotify. That one has the most streams. So I'm assuming that's the biggest song. Yeah, was that the single?
Yeah, I would say that's probably like the biggest single.
I like did not like Good Ones. I thought that was like kind of trashy pop. But I really liked New Shapes. I thought that was good. But I think Yuck and Used to Know Me are the 2 best songs on the album, and they're kind of right at the end there. So yeah, I do agree that it starts off good. I do like the beginning. It kind of falls into a valley in the middle. Baby is really good. But then Yuck and Used to Know Me are awesome. So yeah, I like this album. I'll probably listen to it a few more times, see if it grows on me. I don't think it was as good as Dua Lipa's album, to be honest. So yeah, I did like it. I'm glad that I like got the chance to listen to it though. I've kind of seen a lot of like people who I respect post about it, so I'm like, all right, give it a shot. So it was good. I do like it. I'll give it a few more listens.
Yeah, I'll walk back what I was saying earlier too. I'd like to make a point. I'll give it a few more listens as well. Like I certainly wasn't turned off by the album. I just think I need to give it some more deliberate attention.
At least me. Yeah, this is not my thing. I just, I respect it for what it is. Like this pop album. And I do like how like artists like her in The Weeknd are trying to go for this 80s thing. With like there's like the synthesizer like kind of sounds. But I just don't like the production of like, I don't like the way the drums sound. And that kind of kills it for me. It's just a little too, everything sounds a little robotic for me, and not the feel doesn't feel there. I don't even know how to explain it. But I think, I mean, it's good. I mean, for what it is. I mean, if I heard this at a bar or something, or at a club or something, I'd be like,
Old Crow in Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
maybe not old pro, but like, I don't know. I mean, I would like it more than other things. I think it's just the production and like the, and I feel like when it comes to like sports, kind of more pop songs, like at least they have a little bit more like the synth leads. I think are a little bit more recognizable. And anyway, I don't know. I don't really know how else to explain it other than that. I kind of agreed with what James said. But yeah.
Cool. Should I give this a score?
Do it.
Yeah, no, and Reid, I wrote down your point about I definitely agree with you. I think it's unfortunate that I think a lot of big pop records or anything that's making it on Billboard, I think they suffer from the lack of being a complete experience. I think some artists do that really well, like Dua Lipa's album is really great. And it's got these vibes, and it is better than this, way better than this, and a lot longer as well. But yeah, I think with that, I think the score that I would give this is kind of between like a 6.5 and a 7 out of 10. Yeah, liked it. Definitely not my favorite Charli album. I personally really like this sound. I like that the drums don't sound perfect. Like, I just appreciate it more so for its production of a pop album. And I think a lot of times we kind of need to not put it into the box of something else, because it is a different piece of music. So that's how I kind of approached my listen. But yeah, 6.5 to a 7 out of 10.
That's a good point. I think I'm trying to put it in a box if it's something else. I think that's a good way to put it, because as a pop album, it's
yeah. And I hope that like someone else brings other pop music too, like to the forefront of this. I think we could branch out a little outside of ourselves and kind of listen to something that we don't really normally listen to. And maybe that could be your album that you don't like. That you bring.
I picked the same album Doug picked last week.
That would be really funny. And also, Doug, be careful what you wish for, because I've listened to this album called Slut Pop a couple of times.
Oh, I actually like that album. No.
That album slaps.
This Slut Pop thing.
It's by Kim Petras or Petrus. She's like from, I don't know where she's from somewhere overseas, but it is what it sounds like.
Sure is.
Yep.
All right. So last person, we waited the longest for him, and we waited the longest for this album. Mason.
Every week, I'm every time on the backup, and I am damn proud to be it. So, Matt said earlier, not a lot of people these days are listening to albums, and that's very true, myself included. I had a tough time finding a new record from the last, well, we put the 6-month rule on it, and I had a tough time picking something. It ended up working out that the people I went to go see, Paul Cherry, who I picked for this album, it's Back on the Music, we're coming to Chicago in a couple weeks, and I listened to their new album. So, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I was kind of worried it was going to be some, just another kind of indie record. Indie music for me these days is kind of all just kind of seaming together. And it doesn't feel like anybody's really sticking out or taking risks these days. Not to say that this record took a lot of risks. It's definitely a significant improvement from their last record. Their last record was fantastic, but this one you could notice they're kind of getting more comfortable in their skin. Their production's getting a little bit better. They have good flow throughout the album. All the instruments kind of get a chance to breathe. Everybody gets a time to shine. And I really just kind of enjoyed the overall groove. There were some real earworms in there too. I mean, no news, no blues. I've just been absolutely belting that out through my house the last couple of days. Just kind of a really catchy hook. And, you know, I'll say that I think I really like this album. I think Paul's kind of on a really good trajectory here, but I'm really excited for what's going to come next, if that makes sense. Like it was solid, great listen, but I can tell he's kind of just teetering on the edge of like, you know, I want to try something new, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite sure what I'm ready for yet. And this is kind of evident of that, but it was fantastic. And, you know, I'm curious, a couple of us were at that show. I mean, I really enjoyed the show myself, and I thought they did a great job playing the music live. So what do you guys think? Matt and Doug, I know you guys were there.
Yeah, I mean,
Show was
I think-
awesome.
yeah, it was great.
it
And I
was.
think like when I first got introduced to Paul, it was 2018. I just moved here. And we saw Paul Cherry. We saw Paul Cherry like 4 times that year, and every set was the same because he would just play the record. And also he played the same set in 2019 at Pitchfork. So it was just like, it's
Yeah, we saw him.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that album just it played on for a long time, and like Reid said, we've been waiting for this one for a very long time. So also to see it live was really great too. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy that he's back and making music. I feel like there's some like nuanceness to his sound. Like there's these Bandcamp projects that he's done called Java, and I think that those have kind of begun to make the feel and the vibe of that has begun to like kind of, what am I trying to say? It sounds like Java meets the last Paul Cherry album, as well as the first Paul Cherry album. I think it's like a culmination of a lot of his sounds. So yeah, I really dug it. No news, no blueses. Great, amazing. There's some sexy songs on here too. What is that specifically? I think it's More Fun. I don't know. I can't think of it. Oh, it's Our Room. You Being You, Our Room.
That's
Yeah. I actually played that like on a meeting during work, and I was like, this song sounds a lot more sexual than I thought it did. And it's not really like the most sexy sounding song. It just sounds like, you know, it's a love song, and that's what Paul Cherry does, makes love songs. But yeah, I'm happy he's back. It was a good album, really good.
Yeah, it was, I mean, 4 years in between the albums, man. Like that's, yeah. Glad to see it.
Teasing it for too long too.
Exactly.
So this was nice to finally get it.
Waited a long
nice
time
release.
for this one. He really hyped it up too, the release. I remember he was, saying it would come out last year and it didn't. And it was just like, this album's never coming out. I don't know. It was for those who don't know, he was a Chicago guy. I mean, back in 2019 or something, whenever Flavor came out, that was a big album for, Chicago.
Flavor came out in 2016.
2016?
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Well,
You're old.
But anyway, it was it was definitely a big album time. All of us listened to it. All of us went to see him all the time because live, Paul Cherry live is so good. He has the best players play with him, and it's basically like jazz, and like kind of like Snarky Puppy, not like Snarky Puppy, but it has a modern twist on it. And big fan. Anyway, going into this album, yeah, I didn't know what to expect because you could tell he was really working on it really hard. And when you listen to it, you can tell that he's grown a lot as a player and a songwriter. And he put it all in there. And I think it's really good. I think it's his best one yet. There's not too much to say. I'm a big fan of It Happens All the Time. And then the last song in the album too, I forget what it's called. I don't know if anyone remembers it. I gotta say it because it's so awesome.
Riding the High. That was also
my favorite song on the album. Yeah, I've been listening to it all week. I think it's an amazing album. I can't wait to see him again live.
This album was a lot more cohesive for me than I think a lot of his other work is. And I was sort of nipped at a lot of the early work, and that kind of prevented me from like really diving into Paul Cherry, just because I could be a little all over the place. But this album felt really consistent front to back, in a way that I really enjoyed. I don't have a whole lot to comment in terms of lyricism or the instrumentals or whatnot, but I found myself really listening deeply on some tracks. Like Moving Through Circles was one that stood out to me. I don't know why it did. I don't know like what was tugging on my heartstrings there, but it felt like a good song, and it was obvious that he put a lot of work in on this album. And hey, gotta respect hard work,
I think Paul Cherry has some big cojones going 6 years in between albums and touring the same album for 6 years. I
his fans
was borderline getting sick of it and like didn't really want to listen to the album. And if you're gonna take 6 years to write an album, it better be good. It is. It's really good. The first time, I think we probably played about half the album when we watched the live stream. I missed the show. I was working, unfortunately. But this album also sounds a lot like Mild High Club. Matt, you would probably know the relationship between Paul Cherry and Mild High Club.
When I first saw Paul Cherry, he opened for Mild High Club.
And I know the Mild High Club drummer used to play with him too. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of influence there, but one song in particular, Moving Through Circles, actually sounds like it should be on a Mild High Club album. And not a bad thing at all. I love Mild High Club. I love that sound. And I think Paul Cherry kind of just took the similar vibe, even though he did on Flavors too, and just put a little more jazz in it. And I think a big reason this album is so good is the guy who plays like all the auxiliary wind instruments, like the flute and the saxophone and the other instruments that I can't name. Like when we heard it live, the guy just absolutely killed it. And I think that guy in particular takes this album like up a step.
Yeah, I just tacking on to that. I haven't listened to as much Paul Cherry as you guys have, but I really like this album. Just the production was really good. A lot more instruments than I was expecting, but like what Reid was saying about the wind instruments. No News, No Blues is awesome. I love Sunset Roller Coaster, so that was kind of a pleasant surprise. Like, oh, like these guys are on this song. That's cool. I really like Moving Through Circles. I thought the lyrics were really good for that song. Yeah, great album. Definitely gonna listen to his old album with the new fresh lens here. I guess that'll be interesting for me. I haven't listened to that yet, so I don't know if that's blasphemy or not on this live stream. But yeah, great album. Back on the music. He's back. Paul Cherry's back, baby.
So with the success or the critical acclaim that this album is getting, how valuable do you think our Paul Cherry original bucket hats are now?
Oh, those are going up in value. Those are probably going.
I think I lost money on that one.
Ooh.
Something I didn't mention that I do want to mention is you can tell that lyrically, this album, he put a lot more thought into it. Like there's so many songs that are like super, like, obviously like the Moving Through Circles, like you haven't seen your friend in a while, but it's still cool. There's one about, there's one about like not, no news, no blues, obviously, just being like consumed by everything around you, just like letting loose, being, a lot of like relatable things I think that are in this, day and age, especially with the COVID, not being around, being stressed out and stuff. And I think he hits it the nail on the head there with the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10 there. Very solid album. Very happy with it. But I want to see him take that next step, take that risk, and kind of evolve into, his true form, shall we say. I could see them going, I don't know if anybody's listened to any of the new Foster the People stuff within the last year and a half, 2 years. Very different sound, and that's where I could see kind of them going in that direction of kind of the new Foster the People sound, kind of that. I'm not even going to try to describe it.
Actually, I think I've heard the one song on the radio. I think I know what you're saying. Yeah.
That the new EP. I can't remember the name right now, but it's cool, man. It's really cool, and I'm looking forward to what's coming next. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
Sick. Now we got to vote.
I think we got to vote now. Do we message you privately, Matt?
No, we'll just do it one at a time. It's fine.
All right.
Does anyone want to have a? Well, first off, what did George vote for?
George voted for Denzel.
Oh. Did he really? Or are you just saying that?
No, here, I'll show you.
Okay. All right. I see it. It's legit.
Which does come out of left field from what I would expect George to vote for.
Yeah.
Great album. What can I say?
So
What?
good. Matt, who do you vote for?
I'm gonna give it to Paul Cherry. I like the Paul Cherry a lot. Easy.
I'm gonna give it to James. James, man, that was crazy. Craziest listening experience I've had in a while. Yeah.
Good, man. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll go for the Denzel album as well. That one just pushed all the right buttons for me.
I'm going for the sports album all the way. I actually like it more than the album that I picked, like way more.
I'm gonna vote for the sports album as well. But for me, it's between the Paul Cherry album and the sports album, and I think the sports album edges it out.
Was this because I didn't like yours, Jet?
Mason, when I get back to Chicago, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna break out one of those alternate mind devices that Reid keeps talking about, and I will show you.
What are you talking about?
Years. No, I'm kidding, I'm
I
kidding.
trust me, man. I trust you.
My vote goes to Denzel.
Hey,
Oh.
tiebreaker. Let's go.
Wins it.
Well done, Reid. Good pick.
I've come in second every time I did this. It's nice to be on top, baby.
You've earned it. You've earned it, man.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for watching. This has been Hip Dad's Record Club. Matt, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. And don't forget, if you liked an album a lot and you want to say so, you can vote on which one you like the most out of all these on our website, hipdad.cool. The link is in the description of the video.
We got over 10,000 votes last month, which is pretty
crazy.
Damn.
Yeah,
I was
go ahead
hand
and-
counting them all. It was like,
I know, it was crazy. They all mailed it to us.
yeah.
Damn, yeah. Our listeners are the most dedicated group of fans that we could ask for.
Yeah, I
We
love
should have one of those like American Idol phone banks.
Yes.
text.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got a landline. People can call the landline and vote.
Right. All right. Well, cool, guys. We'll see you next month.
Yeah, stay on.